Most people think walking away means you lost, but the psychology behind it tells a completely different story. Walking away is not defeat. It is the moment you decide your peace is worth more than the fight. There is a reason people panic when you stop reacting. Your silence and distance remove their power over you. Most manipulation depends on your continued engagement. The moment you disengage, the entire dynamic collapses. Psychologists call this the withdrawal effect. When you remove your presence, people are forced to confront what they were taking for granted. Attachment is the oldest form of control ever used, and most people never realize they are being controlled through it. When someone knows you will always come back, they stop valuing your presence. Your return becomes expected. An expectation kills respect. The moment you make yourself permanently available, you lose leverage. Scarcity is not cruelty. It is the most honest signal of self-worth. Studies in behavioral psychology show that intermittent reinforcement is more addictive than constant reward. But walking away permanently breaks that cycle entirely. The person who can leave without looking back holds all the power, not because they are cold, but because they have decided their standards are non-negotiable. Most people stay in situations that drain them because leaving feels like failure. But staying in the wrong place is the real failure. It just happens slowly. There is a psychological phenomenon called the sunk cost fallacy. It keeps people trapped in relationships, jobs, and situations simply because they have already invested so much. The sunk cost fallacy whispers that leaving means everything you gave was wasted. But the truth is, staying only adds to the loss. Walking away from a sunk cost is not weakness. It is the moment your logic finally overpowers your emotion. In negotiations, the party willing to walk away always wins, because desperation is visible and it transfers power instantly. The same principle applies to every human relationship. The one who needs the other less will always hold more influence. This is not about being cold or calculating. It is about understanding that need, when exposed, becomes a vulnerability. When you walk away from someone who expected you to stay, something shifts in their psychology. Suddenly, they are the one questioning their value, not you. This reversal of psychological pressure is one of the most powerful things a person can experience, and it only happens when you are willing to actually leave. Most people use the threat of leaving without ever following through, and every empty threat trains the other person to take you less seriously. The person who says they will leave and never does has already lost. Your words only carry weight when your actions confirm them. Walking away is the action that gives all your previous words their meaning. It is the moment your boundaries become real. Boundaries without consequences are just preferences, and people treat them accordingly. The psychology of self-respect is rooted in one simple truth. You teach people how to treat you by what you are willing to accept. Every time you stay after a line has been crossed, you redraw that line further back, until one day you look around and realize you have no lines left. Walking away is the act of redrawing that line in permanent ink. It says, "This is where I end," and where you no longer have access. Research on attachment theory shows that people with secure attachment styles leave more easily, not because they care less, but because they trust themselves to survive the loss. Insecure attachment keeps people frozen in bad situations. The fear of being alone becomes more powerful than the pain of staying. But here is what insecure attachment never tells you. The loneliness you fear outside is nothing compared to the loneliness of being unseen inside a relationship. The most painful form of loneliness is sitting next to someone who no longer sees you. Walking away from that is not loss, it is liberation. There is a certain kind of person who only appreciates what they had after it is gone. Walking away is the only language they understand. Some people are not capable of valuing presence, only absence. And trying to prove your worth while you are still there will never work with them. The psychology of loss aversion explains why absence hits harder than presence. People feel the pain of losing something far more intensely than the pleasure of having it. This means your departure will always register louder than your loyalty ever did. Not because you failed, but because that is simply how the human brain processes loss. Understanding this does not make walking away easier emotionally, but it makes it make sense intellectually, and sometimes that is enough to move. One of the hardest parts of walking away is the guilt, the feeling that you are abandoning someone or giving up on something that could have worked. But guilt and responsibility are not the same thing. You are not responsible for managing someone else's reaction to your healthy decision. People who use your guilt as leverage are not people who love you. They are people who need your compliance. Love does not grip. It holds with an open hand and lets go without punishment. When someone makes your departure feel like a crime, examine that carefully. Healthy people do not punish others for choosing themselves. Walking away from a situation that punishes your autonomy is not cruelty. It is the most basic act of psychological self-defense. The nervous system remembers everything, even when the conscious mind tries to forgive. And chronic stress from staying in the wrong place rewires the brain over time. Studies show that prolonged exposure to high-conflict environments physically alters the stress response system. Walking away is not just emotional, it is neurological survival. Your body knows before your mind admits it. The tension in your chest, the exhaustion that sleep cannot fix, those are not weakness. They are signals. Most people override those signals for years, telling themselves it will get better, it will change, they will change. But behavior without consequence does not change, and hope without action is just delayed pain. The moment you walk away, you stop being a participant in the pattern, and the patterns cannot continue without all participants. This is perhaps the most underrated power of leaving. You do not just free yourself, you break the entire system. Some people will call it selfish, but choosing your own mental survival over someone else's comfort is not selfishness, it is sanity. The world has spent centuries teaching people, especially those socialized to be agreeable, that their needs come last. Walking away is the direct rejection of that programming. It says, I was taught to stay, to fix, to endure, but I am choosing something different now. That choice does not require an explanation. It does not require permission. It does not require their understanding. The most powerful walk away is a silent one. No final speech, no last argument, no waiting for closure that will never come. Closure is something you give yourself. It is the moment you decide the story is over, regardless of whether the other person agrees. Walking away is not the end of your story. It is the first sentence of the chapter where you finally choose yourself. More dark psychology every week. Subscribe if you're ready to understand people at a deeper level.